Hello everyone, this is update for June 26, 2023, day 488 of the war, and of the date update, also catch up for June 25. So first, I'm going to talk a little bit about the marker situation, which I think looks really ugly and sort of getting uglier by day. I believe we may have some kind of, we're getting to some kind of I would say moment of truth. I don't know when, but it's just too many negative things are building up. So we're going to start with Singapore. The industrial production there is down 10.8%, and it's also acceleration of decline. This is year on year. I understand that Singapore is obviously not the major manufacturing hub of the world, but it is indicative of high value add manufacturing. And it is still very indicative sort of place, along with China and the rest of the Asia. Just it's also a big trading hub, so I think it's important to consider that. And then I'm going to switch to Germany. So first of all, the I think UFO or UFO business climate index there declined, and then also business expectations there declined. So it's sort of reflective of all other negative information that was coming from Germany. That basically business situation there is getting worse, and I would like to single out that this is one of the direct results of the misguided energy policy, and it's probably going to get only worse because there is no change in the horizon. And then also German central bank called Bundesbank, basically it's lost a tremendous amount of money, and it's actually the same, by the way, and so it may need recapitalization, or the sort of catchy word bailout. What this really means, that probably technically it's bankrupt. Basically, on a accrual basis, it's bankrupt. On a cash basis, it's not. And German government will need to basically infuse new capital into the German central bank. The losses that I've seen estimated up to 650 billion US dollars or euros, plus minus. It's just at this point, it's just, as they say, 1 billion here, 1 billion there, doesn't matter. But I think the German economy is about 4.5 trillion US dollars, maybe five, up to five. I don't remember exact number, but you can see that this is really a huge loss. And just and that by 4.5 to 5, I meant GDP, which is revenue. And this is when we talk about this 650, it's profit, right? So if you have revenue, let's say 4.5 trillion, at the best, your profit is about probably 450 billion, maybe a little bit more. But basically, it's just amount of the amount, just so you understand, that this loss is staggering. This is not small change or anything. And and then I just want to explain what's happening here. It's the same what was happening in the U.S. with those vulnerable banks blowing up in March. The reason is increasing interest rates. So what German central bank was doing, it was buying all of this bonds, government bonds, and now it put it on its balance sheet. Now, because interest rates went up, the value of those bonds went down, which is just a must. Not because I think so. It's just a must how it works, the bond valuation. And so because of that, you have losses. They're unrealized losses, but they're huge. And that's why I said it's not cash, but it's accrual basis. But as long as interest rates need to stay high, and looks like they will, this will be a big problem for for Germany, and this is probably similar. So we probably will see sort of this sort of skeletons coming out of the closet in other places in Europe, and that's why I said that U.S. is also not done. There will be more skeletons in the closet in the U.S. This is just generally you increase interest rates after having interest rates close to zero for since 2008 through let's say 2002. Close to 14 years. This is what you get, and this is if you really think in terms of high level. What's really happening is it just the capital was wasted for all of this 14 years, for all of these efforts to keep interest rates at zero. And this is just now we're realizing all of those mistakes. So basically, all of those 14 years, it looked like this was all, great achievement and everything. Well, it wasn't. It really was destroying capital. And now we actually realizing this, and sort of the bad part comes sort of with a delay of 14 years, and this is what sort of globally we're going to be experiencing, because this was global situation. This is not just Bundesbank, or I'm not picking up on Bundesbank. It's everywhere. So nobody's going to be immune to this. And it looks like this hurricane just picking up. Then also going back to the U.S. and all of this manufacturing renaissance. So Dallas Fed Manufacturing Index was negative 23.2, and also the acceleration of decline, basically. I understand the Dallas sort of region is not sort of the main manufacturing base in the U.S., but it's just reflective. It's still important, I would say, and it's reflective. You wouldn't have manufacturing renaissance with declining manufacturing in one of their major regions of the U.S. Then let's switch to China. Things there also not great. There's a statistic came out on mobile phone sales. It's down 0.7% for cumulative for January through May, and it's year on year. So it's 2020 January through May of 2023 versus the same period of 2022. This is also very negative sign, because usually this is something people pretty much always buy, because that's like your mini computer that you always need. It just pretty much first thing person would buy, and the sort of sluggishness in the sales kind of indicative of the Chinese consumer. That's basically the consumer bubble there is definitely not working. Let's put it this way. I cannot say it's actually deflating, but it's clearly not working. And then also real estate bubble there is not working either, because there are two more Chinese real estate developers that defaulted on US dollar nominated loans. So again, you don't do defaults when things are going well, and that's just another sign of continuing problems in China. So pretty gloomy overall, as you can see, the whole outlook, and giving the previous results, it definitely extremely negative, let's put it this way. Now let's switch to I guess Russia and Ukraine. First I want to talk a little bit about this Wagner's attempt, and sort of provide the summary of all of this. And there's still more information coming out, but just want to summarize what happened is, at individual level or sort of organizational level, what Wagner Group wanted to do is to preserve itself. It was pressured by the Russian MOD to basically get dissolved in Russian MOD, and Russian president was on the side of Russian MOD. Wagner Group tried to sort of avoid that, did all of this sort of stunts. So far we've seen and it didn't work out. So they basically, out of desperation, they made this move, which they stopped. We can always speculate why it stopped and so on. However, the and looks like they moving to Belarus, to be there, to be based out of Belarus, which is a country right north about Ukraine. So it looks like they continue operating. They still actively recruiting, so we'll see what happens there. They may become sort of nominally Belarus company, but doesn't matter. It's essentially, as I said, it's both countries is the same. Russia and Belarus, it's the same thing. The most important part is that there was a tremendous support for what Wagner Group was doing, especially among Russian military, not the military top. I'm not talking about the top. Top is obviously I shared this a million times, so I'm not going to repeat that. At the sort of lower and middle level of the Russian military, total support, and also popular support, which there is realization, I guess, in Russian society that Russian president and sort of his, how to say, political circle is too old to rule the country. This doesn't mean that society changed and want sort of peace with Ukraine. No, this is not from that perspective. It's just, I think, realization inside of Russia that current Russian leadership is not effective and is not efficient and out of touch with time. And so obviously there's corruption there, all of that, and there's desire to change that. And that's why there was tremendous support for Wagner Group attempt to take, I guess, I couldn't say even it was attempt to take power, but attempt to self-preserve was confused by outsider with attempt to change and attempt to take power in Russia. So there was sort of, and then what it tells is that desire for change is tremendous. That people were willing to confuse sort of one thing with another to that point to be delusional, basically. So, and then in many ways, head of Wagner Group, Prigozhin, he's threw all of this his supporters under the bus because now they become, I would say, enemy of the state, enemy of the political top, and obviously they will. Some of them will be prosecuted, and they will have repercussions for that. So. So it looks like he lost permanently that opportunity for a second chance, but you never know. People might be so desperate that they will say, "Okay, try it again." But it was very clear to many that he's not what people were thinking. Basically, some of the delusions kind of like faded away, like sort of went away, but the sort of in other direction there is this strong desire for change. That he may still be sort of accepted even for the second coming. But at the same time, this isn't what I was telling, that Russia is heading towards its 1917 moment, and the pressure is just building up. It didn't go away. There's a huge. Basically, Russian president is not changing anything. Many in Russian society, Russian military were hoping that the head of MOD and head of General Staff headquarters will be replaced or changed. It doesn't look like it's happening, and the reason it's not happening for political reasons, because then a Russian president will look vulnerable to sort of his political circle, and then you can be attacked by others. So he's not even, just from self-preservation perspective, he's not going to change. but not changing, you making things in medium term and long term much, much, much worse, because problems don't go away and they just build up. The negative energy obviously builds up in the society as a whole, and in the Russian military, by the way. Um, and so that's the situation with this. And Ukraine is also on its own path towards 1917, just different. But basically, the how to say, the both countries take different roads, but the end destination is the same. Um, so that's sort of kind of like summary what happened. Um, what may happen, we'll find out. I'll provide more updates because it is definitely interesting situation. Now let's quickly walk through the front line. Let's see what's going on there. I'm gonna do it in a clockwise fashion, as I always do, starting from the north and then moving down. So situation along state border is relatively quiet, continues to be quiet since, let's say, 15 days ago, and doesn't look there is any sort of change, which also indicates that Ukrainian command is not planning any active immediate action or continue actively offensive. Yeah, there will be some attempts, but they are sort of I'd say half-hearted attempts and not really major offensive, more just fighting for technical improvement in the situation and trying to paint the picture that there is some movement, there is some improvement, when the reality is not really anything. Now let's move to the North Lugansk front line. Things here again the same, quiet, some tactical attacks by Russian side, never-ending fights in this forest, but really nothing major is happening here. Now let's move to the North Donbass front line. Things here are more or less also quiet. Some local Russian tactical attacks, but really nothing major. And you can see the world of difference since Wagner Group left. It's just a quiet front line, similar to any other front line right now. Again, the same picture, nothing really happening here at this point. I did mention that Ukrainian troops do local attacks, and they, several days ago they managed to completely gain control of the western bank of this freshwater channel. But this is really, it's not, I just want to make it clear to everyone, this is not offensive. This is just local tactical fights for village XYZ or ABC, which is, in the grand scheme of things, is really nothing. Then let's move to the central Donbass front line. Things exactly the same here. Never-ending Russian attacks that essentially don't lead to anywhere. I don't know, whatever they may progress of 100 meters, maybe over a month or something like that. But it's essentially dead end for Russia and Ukraine as well, but not here. Now let's move to the Zaporizhya front line. So the only advance by Ukrainian side was Ukrainian troops finally liberated the village here, Rivnopillya. It was on the 25th. So now you can see the sort of updated front line. This is how it looked on the 13th. When the Russian troops started to retreat, then they were sort of holding on as much as they could, and including Rivnopillya. Now this is sort of more reflective of that whole move finally was sort of finalized, and there is new front line established that Russian side is trying to hold on to. Again, this was tactical attack, not an offensive, nothing major, just local tactical fights. And actually want to a little bit talk about this, let's call it Kherson front line, or maybe not correct one, but If you have ideas how to call this section, I'll be happy to do that. So the only interesting developments is this Ukrainian bridgeheads on the eastern side of Dnipro River, and they actually pretty relatively big. It's about 2-3 kilometer lengths and about 500 meters in depth, maybe 300 in some places. But this is already not tiny. This is something which can be developed into something bigger. And Russian troops tried to wipe them out and were unsuccessful so far. And the way it looks, it's nearly impossible. It will be nearly impossible to eliminate those bridgeheads. And also there are quite a bit of opportunities to extend those for Ukrainian side. So this is the only sort of call it potential development that can change some sort of big picture situation. Let's just look at the big map. So this is again, it's here. So this really potentially creates big problem and opens the road towards Crimea, and that will really create a huge, I wouldn't say panic, but really potentially disorderly retreat for the Russian troops. This is obviously, it's not anywhere close. I'm not saying this is high probability. It just, maybe, at some point in the future it will happen, but this is just opportunity. Let's put it this way. There is opportunity. Whether it's going to get realized is still very, very, I would say I would be skeptical, let's put at this point. But I would say as a summary, the key point is this is really turning into strategic dead end for both sides, and truly World War One, where both sides would fight for whatever 500 meters, 1 kilometer, lose a lot of people, lose significant number of equipment, lose a lot of other resources, and achieve nothing. And the more important is that defense is the most advantageous type of action. Neither side is capable of successful offensives. Once someone controls whatever territory, it's close to impossible to dislodge for both sides. Both Ukrainian side cannot do it, and the Russian equally cannot do it. And I'm comparing right now the regular Russian troops, regular Ukrainian troops, since Wagner's, at least for now, looks like out of picture. Even though there is still recruiting going on, so it's that's why I said I'm going to provide updates because it'll be interesting to see what's going to happen there. But without Wagner Group, effectively Russian army is not going to be able to do much. And then if you extrapolate the situation into the future for, let's say, 4 months is the position of the Russian president and Russian political top is, and actually Russian Ministry of Defense is not to have another round of mobilization, and the amount of the contract soldiers that they try to recruit is absolutely insufficient. So eventually this may, if things kind of like the same way, in let's say 4, 5, 6 months, is it possible that Russian front line may collapse just because there won't be enough people to cover the front line. Similar would happen on this Kherson bridgehead, and similar would happen during this Izium/Balaklia offensive, because those were exactly the same situations where just simply not enough troops, too overextended, the defensive positions are not there, and Ukrainian side is more active, more aggressive in doing mobilization, at least for now, and they still have resources. So this again, this sort of intermediate attrition game can be won by Ukraine on the tactical level, not on the strategic, right, on the battlefield. But that may be turned into a strategic victory, because if there is another significant defeat and, let's say, loss of by Russian side of all of this, it's called Tavria region of Ukraine, basically this plains north of Azov Sea, essentially, that's what it really means. This will create huge turmoil in Russian politically from all perspectives, and that really may sort of knock out Russia from Ukraine, just because it will descend in its own turmoil, and it obviously will not have a ability to wage the war against Ukraine at that point. So this is sort of very speculative path to victory for Ukraine, let's put it this way. Also want to comment on one thing that there's some news that because Wagner Group went to Belarus, then there is imminent threat to Poland or Lithuania. None of that is just Wagner Group had at best 25,000 people. Now they probably will have even fewer, because many will sort of leave because they don't want to move to Belarus. They don't want this situation where they're sort of fighting against the Russian state system. Nobody wants to be in that position on the individual level. So probably many people will leave. So it will turn into sort of shadow itself, and even with 25,000 people, you really cannot attack Poland. You cannot really attack Lithuania, and Belarus army is simply not ready. I mentioned this, I think, a year ago. The best, they have like 10 to 15,000 of troops that are capable of doing something. The rest is just simply, there is no motivation. Not that they're not really capable in terms of, they can shoot, they have things to shoot with, but they will not, because they have no motivation. There's no desire to die for nothing, and so they effectively not sort of battle capable, just because of the morale. And to be fair, there is no reason. Nobody wants. There's no interest for Belarus, people to go and fight for no reason. And so again, this is not a threat to those countries. It just we'll see as things develop what's happening there. Again, thanks for watching, and till next time. Bye bye.